if whether it is being, when you talk about it being in the area of Tesla that it started, he made Tesla a global brand. I never believed that electric vehicles will be a mainstay. It was something that was a thought, but now it's a mainstay. Just like the smartphone became a mainstay. Now, the latest one is talking about, it's about having a phone and you don't need a SIM card and you don't need to provide to good data because data is available. Sorry, the data is available in the air, so you don't need to actually subscribe to a device in your house, or you don't need a SIM. It's everywhere, so you just need a device, a phone, and that is it. Though there are security issues around it, but people will come to it. So, um, innovative minds about solving a problem. You don't need to really want to solve a global problem. It's about solving a problem in your community. I met a young man 3 days ago. His problem, he just wants to solve water problem in his community. And in trying to solve water problem in his community, just basically solving water problem in the community, he has produced a product that is both a device and a solution to solve a city problem. So he tried to solve a little problem in his community, he's now solving a city problem. So innovative mind is about changing things in your own community. So what are the things that you have in an innovative mindset? And the first one is about curiosity. You need to be curious about why is this things like this? Why are things this way? What can we do differently? So you have to be curious. You have to ask questions. A curious mind asks questions. You want to see things differently. Another thing that about the mindset of an innovator is about resilience, because there is no guarantee that if you become curious and you want to solve a problem, you will get the solutions the first time. So you need to be resilient to stay on course. If you need to look at what worked, what didn't work, and what is it that you need to change differently, but you need to stay the course. So that is it about resilience. So you need to be resilient. The third one is about collaboration, which is what Amos talked about. It is through the collaborative aspect of the mindset of the innovator that we met. If it was not a collaborative mindset, we wouldn't have met. So you need to be collaborative. So which means that there's also a possibility that what you are trying to solve, somebody's also thinking around that. So probably when two of you come together, begin to solve problem. Yesterday I was speaking with somebody in the UK. She is talking about trying to solve a problem in Nigeria from the education sector. So she has always looked at it from the point of, and she was expressing frustration because she wants to solve problems about the out of school children, which is the menace in Nigeria. Out of school children is sounds like the population of some countries. So she thinks that is a problem, but she doesn't know how to go about that. I said, cool, okay, why don't you go around something that we will solve two problems at a time? Out of school children living with one form of disability or the other. If you combine these two as a problem that you want to solve, you take a chunk of that population and then you can actually focus on a smaller group. And she wouldn't have had that kind of thought if she reach out to seek collaboration. So you can see that if you have an innovative mindset, the next thing you do is you seek collaboration. You cannot do it alone. Then you need to have a foresight, vision. You need to know what is it that you want to solve. Where is the expected future if this thing is solved? And you need to be able to communicate that vision to people. So I say that an innovative mindset is someone that has these four attributes. You need to be curious, you need to be resilient, you need to be collaborative, and you need to have vision. And the late Steve Jobs said, one of the ways that he has overcome all the challenges he had in his lifetime was that he stayed hungry. Not hungry for food, but hungry for knowledge, hungry for solutions, hungry for solving problems. And he stayed foolish. That means if he sees a new idea, he doesn't still behave as if he knows. He stays as if he's ready to listen, because if you stay foolish means that you want to learn. you are ready to listen, you can listen, you can just open your ears and you learn. Then you'll be able to pick what is what's solving your problem and what you can discard that. So I think the thoughts about from Steve Jobs is a guide that we need. So what are the practical steps to start? One is that you need to spot a problem around you. Like I said, you start from your community, you start from your neighborhood. What is that problem that you see in your neighborhood? If you cannot stop what is in your neighborhood, don't think about what is far from you. You know that there are problems around you. There are issues around you. Start from there. Because starting from your neighborhood has to do with relatability. You can relate with the problem. And when you talk about the problem to the next person, they can also relate because they see the problem in the community. It's also possible that you start to see the collaborator there because the person is in the same problem with you. So he sees it. So it's easy to communicate that problem in your neighborhood, what is around you. The next step is you start small. So uh, you can be sure that Tesla today didn't start from Tesla trying to conquer the world. It started from convincing and it built a prototype. So start with a prototype. Start with something that is small. Like I told you around this young man that is trying to solve the water problem I met. He's originally from Ghana anyway. I met him a few days back. Is trying to solve the problem from a subsector of the water, from the water issues that he faced. What is that subsector? That's what they call effluent water treatments. Effluent water treatment are treatments that come from not the conventional water that we produce from our house, but that one goes to the water authorities. But it comes from the ones that the water that company produce, because company in part of their process they also use water. But the water they use is mixed with chemicals and contaminants. So they need to treat their water. So that water that comes from the industries is called effluent water treatment. And there's a regulation that allows it to stay within a particular, what they call parts per million, ppm. So probably the guide could be 5 ppm. But the contaminants in some industries are not as much as heavy as others. So some work to stay at the 5 ppm, some work to go below to stay at 2 ppm, 3 ppm. But they all supply this water to a particular location, which means that it comes with a mixture of not one grade, one level of ppm. So it's providing a solution to ensure this solution injects chemical and is floating on this water that brings it to the acceptable parts per million that goes into the system. So it's solving a whole city problem by solving a little problem from a subset of a problem. So it may not be that you want to solve the whole problem. It could be solving a part of that problem, which is a subset, and then you can do a prototype. And one of the things that I'll tell you on this class is that, or on this webinar is that prototypes, one of the things you want to do is your innovations, you need to patent it, you need to protect it. Else, there are hawks everywhere that want to steal. So if you are able to produce an idea, you collaborate, try to patent it. The next step of what he's doing is trying to patent it with the city in which he is living. So once he goes into patent, that becomes his own product. If it's used, he gets royalties for it. If something out your prototype has been tested, has been patented, and is scalable, then you can begin to iterate. You can begin to reproduce. If you produce and it doesn't give you the result that you want, you can go back again, look at what didn't work iteratively. So you go back. Iteratively means that you can start from the beginning, you can start from the middle, depending on where you stop, where you see the problem. So as a young mind, one of the things that you do is find a mentor. You can find a mentor. One of them is Amos that you know. You can find Amos. Amos is a mentor. There are other mentors around you within your community. If you don't see one, these days of the internet, you can look for a community of innovators within your space, and you will see that. So you can always find an innovator and a mentor everywhere, right? And then the next one, I'll talk to young people. This is very important, is to use technology wisely. Technology is out there, it's available for everybody. So it depends on what you want to use it. I'll give an analogy. Technology is like a dog. Some people have a dog, they train the dog to be a pet, a puppy that lives with them and they become their friend. They send them work. Some also train the same dog to be a security dog, and that dog sniffs for contraband goods at the airport. Some train the dog to lead somebody that lives with some form of disability or the other, so it becomes like a guide. Some also train the dog to be a tool for war. So technology could be a tool depending on what you want to use. In this innovative webinar, we are talking about using it wisely for innovations because it is out there to you. You can decide to use it for whatever you want to use it. But we are saying use it wisely, use it for creative purpose that solve humanity problem. Then build community of support. Community of supports are all over there. If you go to meetup.com, you can find a community of support of innovators, and you can find one within your locality because the good thing about Meetup is that it locates you within your community and it allows you to build your community of support. Recently, I looked for people within my community of support around Meetup, and I just found them and they were having a meeting, and I just walked there and I was welcome. So there are tools to also find community of support as well as find mentors. So you can build your community of support around that. So what are the things we do as innovators? Like I said, you can find a challenge when you are building a prototype or when you're trying to find a solution. So when you see, what you see is that you see failure as feedback. Don't see failure as something that will make you not to go forward. I give an example of myself. I got a PhD because I was removed from a master's class to do a PG. So I failed. But when I failed and I was having conversations with the course advisor, she gave me a pathway. And I will never forget that day, one day in the afternoon in 2014, he gave me a pathway to say, why not? There are options around this. Although we cannot continue with you, but you can continue with this school. And that was how, because if I had continued with that school, I wouldn't have gotten my PhD. But when I saw the failure, I accepted it as feedback, and she gave me an opportunity to go. And when I went to this other school, I knew where I had my mistakes, corrected my mistakes, and I was accelerated on fire. I got a master's and a PhD under 4 years. So failure became a feedback for me. So don't see failure as a final stop, but as feedback. As innovative mind, you don't really need big labs or money to start. You can just start with what we have. Like I said, there are problems around you that are within your surrounding. You can even go for this scrap area within your community and you see things to work with to create, assuming you are within the science and STEM area, things to even create or solutions that you can find. So you don't really need so much big money to start. You just need that your idea and finding a community and a mentor. Probably your mentor could even give you a guide to provide some of those things. So you can seek out your mentor, but you don't really need big money and big labs to start. You just need that creative mind. So I'll tell you, stay motivated even when others doubt you. I'm a testament of that. Because when I started my journey, my educational journey after 10 years out of school, people doubted me. But I had to stay focused, I stay motivated, and use that doubt as an opportunity to move forward. And I move forward in my career. And here I am today talking to young innovators. You can imagine if I didn't stay focused, if that failure I got, I didn't take it as feedback, I won't be here talking to you people. I'll probably be doing something else. But overcoming challenge is one thing that we need to do. And um, I will say this. We have always said that I'm a lifelong learner. So in becoming lifelong learner, also become lifelong problem solver. Those are innovators. Because you combine lifelong learning and lifelong problem solving, then you become innovative. The creative mind comes up, and then you become an innovative mind. And you can imagine if you're a young person starting at the age of 10, 12, 15, and you decide to become a lifelong learner, a lifelong problem solver. Something will come around. One of my best motivation speakers is Denzel Washington. And there is this thing he said that has kept me grounded for a long time and has always made me stay focused on my goal. He said that if you stay long in the barber shop, you will get a haircut. So if you go to a barber shop, for those of you who are not at a barber shop, and if you go to a barber shop, you go there for a service. So you have money, you pay for that service. And if you pay for that service, you get a haircut. But when people that have paid for service, there are people that are there that don't have money to pay for services. Somebody may like their face and pay for their services, right? But there's also a group that doesn't have money to pay for a haircut. But because the owner of the shop will have to close his shop by the end of the day. If he doesn't give that guy a haircut, he cannot close his shop. So he has to give that guy a haircut to be able to close his shop. So if you stay long in the barber shop, you become to one of these three categories. Either you can fund your passion, somebody will fund your passion, or because nobody can fund your passion, but they need to move to the next stage, your passion has to be funded by that place. So if you stay long in a particular field, stay hungry, stay focused, you will get your results. You will find a breakthrough around that. So it's an analogy to say that staying resilient, staying collaborative, you will find your break. So it doesn't have to be that it may be a short run, but becoming a lifelong learner and a lifelong problem solver, you become creative. So my questions will be, as I close this my talk and I will open for questions, will be, what problems would you solve if you had an unlimited resources? If somebody give you a particular amount of money, what problem would you want to solve? What skills do you think every innovator must have? I have highlighted them. You can also add some of those skills that you need to have. So that's my parting shot for you. I want to thank you for listening, and I'll be ready to answer your questions. Thank you. Over to you, Amos.
Thank you so much, sir. I am very grateful. I'm grateful for all the insights you gave us. I will probably ask a couple of questions, but while I do that, let me just give uh, the attendees the option also to begin to ask their questions. So if you want to chat up any questions, please feel free to do that. And then when I stop the recording, I'm going to stop the recording here after we answer some general questions. Then I can bring them up as panelists and we can have a round table. So this is being recorded on Zoom, but then it's also actually live streaming on YouTube as well. But okay, so let's go back to my question then, and then please, if anyone has any questions, thoughts, comments, objections they want to type before we do the panelist section, feel free to start typing. So Dr. Agbai, thank you so much for sharing that. I want to zoom in on a specific problem that I've been thinking a lot about. And to answer your question, if somebody gave me an unlimited amount of money, maybe everybody can write their own response. If you give me plenty money, I know what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do. But part of what I want to do involves, students. It involves young people in Africa. I want to see Africa become the hub of mathematics in the world, right? So my question now is, I'm thinking of water specifically, but just in terms of what does one do if their dream is to solve a continent-wide problem and they are starting from scratch? What kind of advice would you give that person if they are on a lifelong pursuit to solve a continental problem? Any strategies to keep in mind? And then how can we scale up collaboration and prototyping review of these different STEM clubs I told you about? Like, I'm just thinking of ideas. How can we solve a continental wide problem such as the one that I mentioned involving water? Where would you recommend that we start from?
Yeah. Like the water problem, luckily I have somebody that I discussed the water content problem with. The water problem first is that you have to solve your community water problem.
Okay.
So that becomes a success case. So when somebody asks you, oh, what have you done this before? You say, yes, I have done this. I have pointed. Like all I have talked about are my own examples. So I can say I have done this. So if you are trying to solve a water problem, you first solve it within your community because that is your Jerusalem. your community. So your water problem will start from your community. I come from a riverine area where I don't have problem drilling borehole. But rather than drill borehole, there's water there. Why not I put a pipe and just put a hose and pump it to a reservoir and then I decant it. So rather than drill borehole, why not I pump water? That becomes like an easier one, right? And it is more for community use. So how do you solve that water problem? First, in your locality. If it is
Mm-hmm.
in the desert, what do you think? What are the better ways? Saudi Arabia solved their problem, or sorry, Dubai solved their problem by getting water from the atmosphere, rain, right? So solve your problem from your locality, and then you can scale it. Because I tell you that if you solve problem from your locality, you go to, for the case from Nigeria, you solve from your locality, you solve to your state and solve to your country. There's a likelihood that there is no problem you won't have solved across the continent if you want to take it to a continental scale. So first solve your local problems. Then you think for, luckily we have these days of internet and the AI. You can always look for collaborators who that are doing something similar. And then you bring your minds together. So the first place to start is to solve your problem, because you cannot talk about another person's problem when you have not been able to solve yours, or you have not shown that you can solve one within your community, and they are bound within your own community, right? So it starts by solving your local problem.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that, one more last question, and then I'll open it back to the group. One of the things that comes to mind is based on your experience and just growing up and thinking back, all these years, have you seen case studies of collaboration and sort of continental growth on a problem to be solved, or any collaboration through the years in Africa that you've experienced personally or that you know about? I just asked as an example of a playbook for us to also look at, as an example. No problem if you can't think of any now, but I was just curious, looking back on history in Nigeria and Africa, what ways have you seen innovation, creativity, and collaboration thrive? And where can we go to learn some of those examples from the past of other people in Africa?
I can't think about in terms of a product, but I think about in terms of an organization. People have always wondered why African countries cannot trade together, right? So why can't we trade? We can. It's easy for us to trade with Europe and the global north, but we can't trade among ourselves. So that was a problem for some people, and they were talking it for years, right? But people came together and thought that they can solve this problem, and they decided to talk about the Continental Free Trade Agreement. So from an agreement that they signed, they now have a Continental Free Trade Office in Accra that is talking about the regional trade. So from ideas and thoughts about why can't we trade among ourselves? See, there's now a robust organization that is solving the problem of trade in Africa. And because of that thinking and that thought, people have been trading around Africa, right? Among Africans. So the borders are beginning to break because of that trade, because of that thought. Also, um, think tanks have always been in silos in Africa, but the thought about we don't want one African country to think on their own. African
Mm-hmm.
think tanks come together, and they created a call. That's why somebody like me came in, and I brought think tanks around Africa. We convened that call, and we brought that around people. So different countries. And in my case, our consortium, we were able to bring think tanks from Nigeria, Ghana, DRC, um, South Africa. And then we also talked about others that have come on board. Also, there is also the ECOWAS, right? That is also like a problem, that solved problem that came together. So those are like examples of collaborations that have come, case studies that have become collaborations that we can actually look about within the continent.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for those who are watching online, you can feel free to type in your question And if we miss you now, we'll pass it on to Dr. Agbai later. So let me go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll promote those who want to ask real-time questions to go ahead and ask. Again, for those who are watching online, this is from our program Life Academy. We are seeking to raise innovators and problem solvers in the age of AI. And we believe that Africa can thrive and solve practical problems on the continent as a collaborative effort. And this is part of our contribution to that. So thank you so much for watching. Again, those online, have a blessed day. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm going to go to promote. If you don't want to be, on the panel, that's fine. But I want to just invite you and give you the option. At least you can ask questions. So please, do we have any questions, thoughts, comments, objections? So at least we have all the option now to speak through the audio. Any questions for Dr. Agbai before we wrap up? While they're working on the questions, Dr. Agbai, can you just give us a little more insight into Crestwood? Tell us a little bit more of what Crestwood does for the guests.
Okay, thanks. Crestwood Consulting Corporation has a arm called Crestwood Research and Development. Crestwood Consulting Corporation is a company in Canada. We are focused on mainly research, mainly in the core areas of environment, the economy, and leadership sub teams. We also are a company that provides organizational development solutions um, around within the African continent and Canada. The third part is we are a technology company, so we do technology commercialization. So on that end of somebody builds a prototype, right? How do you bring it to market? So how do you collaborate? That is one of the things we do. But most importantly, we pride ourselves as a company that if you want to scale, if you want to put organizational structure within a short period to mature, we are the company that come in. For example, I give you an example. I used to work in the oil and gas. Um, when they produce a well and it's far off from an existing facility, right? That's what they call early production facility. So you know that you cannot, the money from that well, oil well, cannot build a flow station, but you need to sell that oil. So you bring what they call early production facility. It's more like a mini flow station. So it's enough to produce that oil and take it to the market. So so it's like a badge that walks in. So that's an analogy of what Crestwood is. Somebody builds a big dream, a big organization, but he's just starting, he wants to scale. Crestwood comes in and bring in that and provide that support that allows him to actually scale. So that's where we pride ourselves as. So we do research, organizational development, and then IT product commercialization. And then we are a company that gives early starters support, like you must.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I know. I look forward to talking more. And I think even leading up to this meeting, I think one thing that is very interesting is there was a venture capitalist that just wrote an article, and he was basically saying that if our school systems don't become innovative, then they will be training a bad version of ChatGPT. That's what he said. And his point is basically you cannot keep teaching people to memorize facts anymore because there's already ChatGPT. Those facts are not the issue. The issue is, can the people solve problems? That's what this guy was saying. This guy has been traveling around America. He's releasing a book later this year on this very issue. So basically what he's saying is that what we are doing on this call should become a worldwide phenomenon, whereby students are being challenged to build prototypes, to iterate, to collaborate, That's the new frequent currency of success. I just thought it was very interesting. So then we got on this call, and I feel like we're trying to see how can we be a solution to the changing time. So yeah, no, I look forward to seeing how we can raise up more innovators. I love that there's some trade discussions in Africa, but I want to see some problems solved. I want to see clean water for every child now. That is something that must happen. If Elon has to go to Mars and build his own water system and everything, my village can have water now. Why not? So this is my mindset. And so thinking of, in our STEM clubs, we've talked about journals. We want students to journal, and then they can write papers. Remember peer review that we do in PhD or master's programs. Imagine somebody from Delta and Bayelsa writing to somebody in Adamawa and Enugu. Why not? Like, why not? And so, anyway, stay tuned. We're going to continue this STEM Club series of innovation and innovators. Next week, we'll have a gentleman from Singapore. Following week, we'll have another countryman from Nigeria, and I'll introduce them as time goes on. But please, same time, same station. Let's solve this innovation. Let's scale up innovation in Africa. Are there any questions, thoughts, comments, objections before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, the panelists, I know Professor Charles Selby, but Kauna Kigon, Jackson Etokana, if I might want to meet them.
I can introduce Kauna if her audio doesn't come on there.
Okay.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Akbai. My name is Kauna. I am living in Jos. So I am with the team in Jos. Is there anything else I'm supposed to say, Ms. Amos?
Yeah, Kauna is with the Sparkland team. She's our chief operating officer based out in Jos, Nigeria.
Nice to meet you, Kauna.
And she has three
innovators.
Kauna, how many innovators do you have? How many young innovators do you have?
My 3 boys.
Yeah.
They're my young innovators.
Yeah. No, thank you, Kauna. And Jackson, do you mind saying hello or maybe type in just to introduce yourself briefly?
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Jackson Etohana. I'm from Edo State, and I'm representing Ogbonna Community Secondary School for the STEM project.
Thank you so much, Jackson. What subject do you teach?
I teach computer science, and sometimes I assist the physics teacher also.
Wow, well done, Jackson. We look forward to learning more and talking more.
Thank you for
thank you
what
very
you
much.
do. Yeah.
So, Dr. Agba, you've Ogbonna Secondary School, at Edo State. This is one of their STEM club representatives. So, we will have another meeting soon, and yeah, we'll be talking soon. Dr. Agba, there's a gentleman in Edo State, as well, I believe.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, no problem. Well, we'll talk very soon. Well, Dr. Agba, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm learning myself. I'm paying attention. Very soon, people have to start paying us for MBA if they are coming to hear these conversations. You cannot, so I'm really grateful, and I look forward to solving practical problems in Africa and beyond. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us again. I didn't know if Dr. Charles wanted to share anything. If not, no problem. I didn't want to put him on the spot. But thank you so much to Dr. Charles for being here. We're very grateful. And Kauna. So we have Edo, we have Plateau, I'm from Adamawa State, Dr. Agba is from Delta State. So by God's grace, we're already covering several states. So Africa, get ready. Well, thank you so
Amen.
much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Yeah.
Yes. Well, have a blessed day, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.